I'm going to be comparing What is Objectification by Elena Papadaki to Justice Work in Ghetto Poor by Tommy Selby and Black Trash by Charles Mills. In Black Trash by Charles Mills, he goes over Herrenvolk ethics, which is the idea that whites are seen as more valuable than blacks. Uh, he shows this by showing what type of demeaning jobs blacks have had to do over the years and how they are seen as lesser beings. Justice Work in Ghetto Poor by Tommy Selby goes over how blacks have much tougher lives than most whites. He goes over what ghettos are, which are predominantly black neighborhoods with a high concentration of poverty. He states popular arguments of why ghettos exist, and he proves them, or he argues against them, proving them wrong. He challenges the idea that work is a moral and civic duty, and explains why some people decide not to work. Uh, What is Objectification by Lina Papadaki goes over arguments about the treatment of people as bleh, goes over people's arguments about the treatment of a person as an object. She mainly focuses on women and how they are objectified in today's society, but I feel like most of her arguments and most of the arguments presented in that article help me with the future of this presentation. Uh, she states different types of objectification, which I will get to later. All these articles share a common idea that one group is projecting itself to be superior than another group. However, in the articles, I felt as though there was a lack of distinction between the levels of problems brought up. That being said, I feel as though all these articles go hand in hand. The stigma of Herrenvolk ethics has led to years upon years of black repression. The repression has led to things such as slavery, segregation, and has put blacks economically behind whites by limiting their job opportunities. As a result of lack of opportunities, poor blacks were forced into poor neighborhoods called ghettos. In today's society, in order to get a decent job, you are going to need higher education. In order to get higher education, you need to go to college, and people who live in the ghettos can't afford college, so they can't get a decent paying job. Many people living in the ghettos are going to have to get jobs that are very low skill, low paying jobs, and they're going to have to work many hours. Going to another idea, objectification is the treatment or use of a person as an object by taking away their humanity. Slavery was all about objectification of blacks. Slaves were put into terrible living conditions and forced to work extremely long days with no pay. They would also be referred to as property, and they would be called very demeaning names. Papadaki has separated objectification into different types, reductive and non-reductive, and intentional and unintentional. Slavery, based off of Papadaki's definitions, was an intentional reductive objectification. This means that the slave owners intended to hurt the slaves' humanity, and they succeeded. Back to a little bit before, when I was talking about the jobs that the ghetto poor usually get. Many people living in ghettos decide not to work on a regular basis because the work is very demeaning and humiliating. The money that they get for the time that they spend at their job is not worth it. The big corporations are, in a sense, objectifying the ghetto poor by exploiting their work, sort of what like the slave owners did. I believe it is unintentional, non-reductive objectification, which means the corporations are not meaning to harm the workers' humanity, but they are not properly compensating the workers. Considering the low pay, corporations are subconsciously keeping the ghetto poor in lower classes so they can feel superior and more valuable than people in ghettos. This idea mimics the idea of Herrenvolk ethics, but only it is not so racially centered. So basically, to wrap it up, the ghetto poor feel as though they are pawns in a chess game being played by the corporations and choose not to work because they don't want to be objectified any longer and they don't want to feel as inferiors any longer. So